I should remind everyone that this show only happened because Bob, about 15 years ago, said, you guys, we should really do a show on July 1st as well. We said, that's a horrible idea, Bob, but he was probably right. It is, again, the more impactful show than Trade Center, I would say. I got a inspirational text this morning from one of my colleagues, Jeff O'Neill, who said, quote, let's finish on a positive note. You've all had great seasons. Leadership. That is leadership right there. We expect to do it. There's the O-Dog. There's Mike Johnson, gold medalist Cheryl Pounder, Dave Poulin with us as well. We'll get into detail in a second, but the thing I'm really excited about this day is I'm not sure what to expect. There were times when everybody was getting 7- and 8-year deals, and there was $200 million spent in the first hour. There's a ton of guys out there, but I'm not sure how it's going to take shape.
Yeah, but what makes it interesting? The fact that there's so many players available, guys who didn't get qualified, traditional UFA guys, and there is opportunity for teams to make a lot of different moves and find value. Smart teams can get ahead today because there's so many players. You can make mistakes, but you can also have hits and really help your team out going into next year.
And who can avoid the mistake? Matt Duchene is an example. A couple of years ago, Nashville was pretty fired up to sign him, and then he scores 40 goals. A couple of years later, they're like, see you later, buy him out. So with the way the money is structured in the cap, James, it's who can avoid the big mistake, because it's so key to your team's success.
Well, and that brings the question, a lot of short-term contracts, and that's what I'm going to kind of be looking for today. Not these massive extensions or contracts, but certainly those short-term ones, because everyone is so tight to the cap.
New general managers in Toronto, Calgary, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Nashville, young GMs in San Jose, Anaheim, Chicago.
Keep going.
Lots to go here. We got a lot of new faces in those seats, and that could mean a lot of action.
And it just continues to be amazing that there are signings already when no one's allowed to talk until 55 minutes
Weird
from
how
now.
that happens every year.
We'll get into that in a little more detail. I'm sure the NHL's not too happy about it. Some of the stuff that has happened in the moments leading up to the frenzy, the pre-frenzy, and this Brandstrom getting a one-year deal with the Sens, Mike Babcock this morning being officially announced as the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Costin gets a 2-year deal with the Red Wings after coming over from Edmonton, and Jacob Bernard-Docker also a 2-year deal with the Sens. Pierre Dorion has a lot of players to sign, about half of his roster. To get a look at all of the available free agents, let's check in with Frankie Corrado. This is his list, and the world traveler, Lindsay Hamilton.
Thank you, James. Where better to be than in Canada on Canada Day? Who needs to be in Greece? Yes, alongside Frankie Corrado, and we are spending our Canada Day breaking down TSN's top UFAs. And Frankie, it's a really exciting year because this is brand new, never done before, a projected AAV. You're doing the heavy lifting for us, doing some math on a holiday. I love it. So walk us through how we got these numbers.
First of all, I'm the wrong guy to trust with math. I didn't go to college or university, but I will say this. So we have ranked our TSN top UFA board by our projected AAV. So if you look at this board, you're going to see certain players lower than you may have thought. Someone like Matt Duchene is at 22 on this list because we've taken into account that he's getting money from the Nashville Predators as far as his buyout goes. Now, how did we get to these numbers? We started with two analytics companies, AFP Analytics and Evolving Hockey. We took their projections based on the data that they have, punched those numbers into Cap Friendly, looked for comparable contracts, and then vetted those numbers through our countless analysts and insiders here at TSN, and voila, our TSN projected AAVs.
A deep dive into the math. All right, let's take a look at those numbers then, starting with numbers 1 through 10. And atop our list right now, Dmitry Orlov, we know unlikely to re-sign with the Boston Bruins. What does his future look like, and why is he number 1 on our list?
He's number 1 on our list because Damon Severson signed a $6.25 million contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So now we think Dmitry Orlov is a better player, a more rounded player, and is going to command more on the open market. He did an excellent job when he got to the Boston Bruins. He might not be a top pairing guy. He's not a true number 1 guy, but he's very good. And we think that if Severson gets 6.25, Dmitry Orlov's looking at 6.5, and then if more teams get involved, could it push up to $7 million? There's a very good chance. Another player we're going to be looking at paying a lot of close attention to is Ryan O'Reilly. Pierre LeBrun was talking about him. Not going to get $7.5 million, we don't think, but can provide a lot to a team. And in a UFA class that is somewhat thin on centermen, he is our top centerman. So there should be a lot of demand for Ryan O'Reilly.
Moving down, numbers 6 through 10, and the first goalie on our list is Tristan Jarry, 28-year-old. We know he will have plenty of suitors, won't he, Frankie?
He will, and he's a 2-time All-Star, and there's plenty of goaltenders available on the market today, but Tristan Jarry is an interesting one. because he has played so well in the past with the Pittsburgh Penguins. It was a down year for him, but it was a down year for the team. They weren't very good defensively. I would imagine there's going to be a few teams that look in Tristan Jarry and think, okay, this is a guy we're willing to attach some term and some money to and have him as your goaltender of the future. He's been very good. He has a winning pedigree. He was a champion in the WHL. Tristan Jarry is one of those goaltenders that we see. He's our highest-ranked goaltender. We definitely see him being our top-paid goaltender today.
And at 28 years old, also the youngest goalie on our list. This list, 70 deep. And by the way, number 70, Jonathan Drouin. Thanks, Frankie. James, back to you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll check in with you frequently throughout the day, Lindsay and Frankie. So the pre-frenzy, things that have happened in the days leading up. The Canucks, of course, buying out Oliver Ekman-Larsson. The Jets stealing Dubois to the Kings, the biggest deal by far so far. And Kevin Cheveldayoff doing pretty well considering the circumstances there. Taylor Hall going to the Hawks, maybe to play with Connor Bedard. The Preds moving Ryan Johansson to the Avs as they get a second center they were looking for. Tyler Toffoli to the Devils from the Flames, perhaps the first of several moves by Calgary. And the Knights stealing one of their originals, Riley Smith, to the Pittsburgh Penguins.